My adoptive daughter is Lucy, a tween, and her biological mother is Erica, 29. My son, 33, got Erica pregnant, who we knew as the daughter of a friend, and she decided she didn't want the baby. My son didn't want the baby either, so we offered to help Erica out financially if we could adopt the baby. And we had always wanted another child, but it never happened for us. So we paid her rent for 2 years while she went to college. Cut to 11 years later. Unfortunately, we have a poor relationship with our son, as he doesn't want to be involved with our daughter. But we still see him and text him frequently enough. He visited us and told us that Erica had asked to see our daughter. My husband had told her when she was pregnant that we may allow contact, but honestly, we don't think that's best for our daughter at this stage. It would be confusing and upsetting for her. I told her that when our daughter is emotionally well enough, we will tell her. But right now, she's going through therapy for anxiety. My son thinks I'm an idiot. Erica now has a new toddler and said she couldn't even imagine how our daughter will feel when she finds out that Erica has a family. My son and Erica both believe I'm the idiot. But not only that, Erica's parents, whom I've known for 25 years, are now refusing contact and insulting us to common friends. They say they allowed the adoption, but Erica has a right to know her daughter. Nobody had a problem 3 years ago when we went through this. Erica contacted us then, and we shut her down, telling her that we weren't comfortable until our daughter was an adult. But now, suddenly, everyone's losing their minds. So am I the idiot for not letting my daughter meet her biological mother? Edit. She's not aware she's adopted. You are the idiot. Your daughter doesn't even know she's adopted? That's an important fact that every adopted child should learn from the beginning, even if it originated from a difficult situation. Trust me, as an adopted child, I would be angry if I found out years later. It's better to tell her now before any resentment builds up. Get her into therapy as well. We all have things that we don't want to do, but you're leaving out a significant part of your daughter's life. At her age, it's going to be a shock regardless. And her biological father is also her brother who visits frequently. You're not just withholding information, you're straight up lying to your daughter. These families have known each other for a long time, and were friends. How long did you think everyone would keep this secret before it blew up in your daughter's face? This is not a good situation. Poor kid. The best time to tell a child they're adopted is when they're young enough to internalize it as just the way it is. The second best time is now. Regardless of what you do going forward, this will cause trauma. And if you don't bring it up soon, it will only get worse. Soon you won't have any control over how it happens. My goodness, it really sounds like you bought the child from her because a biologically related baby was offered to you. Why didn't you immediately let the child know where she comes from? I hope some adoptees speak up here, because from what I've read, it's always healthier to establish contact with the birth parents if it's safe. You chose the option that was most comfortable for you. Tell your daughter where she came from, like yesterday. Absolutely this. The fact that she bought the baby is gross to me and clearly against her son's wishes, as she seemed to have limited contact with them. This poor girl will have so many issues when she finally figures it out. You're concealing your daughter's identity from her and alienating your son, all to perpetuate fraud. What a mess. I, a 37-year-old male, am an assistant to the manager, Pat, a 43-year-old female, at a local business. I've been here for about 10 years, and my manager has been here for about 13. We just hired a new employee about a month ago, Layla, a 21-year-old female. On Saturday evening, Layla stayed after work with most of her co-workers, us, and their plus ones, for a little Halloween party. We had snacks, drinks, and some alcohol. My manager organized everything, and some higher-ups from the business's branch in the capital were supposed to stop by. Unfortunately, my manager had to leave for an hour or so to take care of some personal things, so I oversaw things while she was gone. Everything was going fine, so I got a drink. At some point shortly after, I was chatting with a coworker and his girlfriend when I spotted Layla across the room drinking a twisted tea. The thing is, I didn't know she was 21. While 18 is our minimum age for hiring, Layla looks 14 to 16, so it seemed like if she was 18, it was only barely. So I thought she was drinking underage. I walked over and asked her to stop drinking and throw it away. I told her I wouldn't talk to the manager about it, as long as she stopped now and didn't argue with me about it. She looked surprised and started apologizing, saying, "I thought we were all allowed to drink. I didn't mean to break a work rule. The others are drinking." I explained to her that it wasn't a work rule. It was the law. That's when she looked confused. I took her drink from her and said, "Honey, you know you're underage. This is a work function at a place of business, not your friend's house." I was just trying to be polite and let her know that even though I wasn't going to allow it, I wasn't necessarily upset with her, and she wasn't in any trouble. This was when things got messy. Layla started telling me she was 21, turning 22 in about 6 weeks, and that she had no problem showing me her ID because she gets this kind of confusion from people often. I told her I'd like to see her ID, but I'd still rather she not drink for the rest of the night. She asked why, and I told her that no matter what her license said, she still looked like a teenager, and I couldn't have people in the store seeing her drink and thinking I condoned underage drinking, especially when the higher-ups come by. Layla said okay, dumped her drink, and then disappeared. Someone later said she called a friend to pick her up and went home. I came into work yesterday morning and Layla didn't show up. And when I asked Kat where she was, she told me Layla got today off because of the Halloween party incident and that we needed to talk about how I treated her. She said, "I had no right to keep Layla from drinking when she was of legal age to do so, regardless of how young she appears, but I still think I'm right and that Layla posed a potential liability. Was I the idiot here? OMG, the thought of someone under 21 drinking a whole can of twisted tea at a party? The police will come. You will lose your career over this. You have no business being an assistant when your first response to seeing her with a drink was to order her to throw it away. You were an idiot at that moment. Then you made the situation worse and worse with your rude, misogynistic, ageist bullying. Also, you called her honey. That's condescending and gross. This could be a colossal HR problem because you potentially discriminated against her based on her age and looks. I wouldn't be surprised if your employer terminates you. So keep your misogyny in check next time. Okay, honey? And if anyone here is a legal liability, it's you. Once she confirmed that she was of age, you had no right to treat her based on how old she looked to you. I think she can pretty credibly threaten a discrimination lawsuit against your company. She wouldn't necessarily win, but who wants to take the chance? I, 31, female, live in Brussels with my husband, 30, Leo. Leo has a brother, Ali, 34, who is married to Sarah, 34, who also lives in Brussels. Sarah is from an English-speaking country and has never bothered to learn French, the language our husbands speak, even though she has lived in Brussels for 7 or 8 years. She says things like, "Everyone here speaks English, so I don't need to," or "I know how to say a coffee." Frankly, she can do whatever she wants. But our husband's parents don't speak English. So whenever we spend time with them, which is quite often, we have dinner there, more or less every Friday. The conversation needs to be translated. For some reason, this always falls on me. I am also from an Anglophone country, but my dad is French. I didn't mind at first, but she has lived here for 8 years. She is married to a Belgian man, and she has never bothered to learn so that she can speak to his parents directly. I find it annoying that it always falls on me if her husband isn't there because the other siblings, they have another brother and another sister, find it irritating that she's never made an effort. And they just don't bother translating anymore. Last week, I was trying to speak to my mother-in-law about something quite personal. My husband and I are trying for children, and it's been hard, and Sarah kept asking me to translate for her. It was really starting to annoy me, especially as it's a sensitive conversation, and translating it was quite painful. So when we left, I told her that I wouldn't be the go-between for her anymore. I told her that she lived here, and that if she wanted to speak to his family, she was gonna have to put in some effort to learn the language. After this happened, she was apparently in tears with her husband that night, and now they're upset with me. So they're refusing to come to any more family dinners unless I apologize. Am I the idiot? If you do apologize, make sure you do it in French. You're not the idiot. If she doesn't want to learn French, then her husband can do the translating. It's not your job. Your sister-in-law is quite entitled, and honestly disrespectful. There's no excuse for not trying to learn the language of the country where she's lived for 8 years. I love the threat to not come to family dinners until she apologizes. Oh no, don't threaten me with a good time. They're upset because it was easier to make you do all the work. For her to sit there and not learn anything. And for him to not go to every event with her. That's their problem. You did nothing wrong. You've done more for her than most people would. Honestly, OP, it sounds like you aren't the only one who doesn't want to translate for sister-in-law anymore. You said her siblings don't want to translate for her anymore. And also, if the husband is actually angry with you, maybe he doesn't feel like doing it all the time. Perhaps he feels like he needs a break from translating and relies on you. This whole thing is ridiculous. After all this time, you almost have to make an effort not to pick anything up in 7 years. I am a 28-year-old female teacher at a lower-income school here in the United States. In the 6-ish years I've been teaching, I've always had animals in the classroom. I think it's crucial, especially for students who can't have pets. This year, for the animal biology lesson, in addition to having our pet turtle, I decided to invest in hermit crabs. Prior to the month-long unit, I had the kids do reports on animals and used hermit crabs as an example. Then, as the unit was introduced, I revealed the crabs. The kids were so excited. They took turns taking care of them, learned all about them, named them, etc. After the unit finished, I decided to pick 3 students to take the crabs home. They had to fill out a form and get permission from guardians. And the grown-ups had to come to meet me to get the crabs. All of this was cleared with the administration. Of course, everything was fine and I chose my more responsible students, spoke with guardians, etc. Then a week later, one of the students told me something sad had happened. Her crab had died. I sent her to the guidance counselor to walk through her grief and reached out to her mom to see how I could support her. Well, wouldn't you know? According to Mom, I'm a total idiot for giving her daughter the pet to begin with. She's been crying non-stop and is devastated beyond belief. It wasn't my place to give her daughter a pet, and I crossed so many lines. She then complained to the admin about me, and I had to meet with the principal who told me it was a bad idea. Crabs are fragile and knowingly inflicted grief on a child and hurt an animal. I just wanted to make the unit fun and teach responsibility and social-emotional skills. Am I the idiot? Edit. The mom came in to pick the crab up and I gave her the information packet along with all the supplies needed. I also told her that crabs are fragile and warned her it might die and that I'd be in touch if she needed me. I also want to clarify that the parents knew the unit and crabs as potential pets before the permission slips went out. I discussed the unit during conferences because it was a big unit. I wanted to see if there was an interest before executing the plan, and if not, I would keep them and use them as classroom pets for years to come. Not the idiot. The parents and guardians had to sign official permission slips, so it becomes their responsibility for knowingly causing a child grief, not yours. Therefore, they need to learn basic self-accountability. You didn't give the crabs away. You made them available for adoption. That parent is missing a huge opportunity to invest emotionally in their child. Sounds like those kids are lucky to have you. You sound like an amazing and dedicated teacher. This project sounds amazing. And yes, unfortunately, there will be parents every year who will do everything in their power to make you lose this motivation and dedication. Do everything in their power to make you lose this motivation and dedication. I'm a fellow teacher myself and have met these parents, but definitely, maybe there's a lesson learned here. Keep classroom pets as classroom pets, or consider including frank discussions with parents that death is likely going to occur at some point and they need to be ready for it. OP, it's not a bad thing that she's crying. She's working through some hard emotions, but just because they're hard doesn't mean they're bad. Crabs are fragile creatures, but so is any animal, and so are humans. Life is fragile, and we'd do a severe disservice to children if we sheltered them from life, which death is a part of. So I, male 22, go to university and have a friend from my class, Casey, female 21. We're in our third year of university. We hang out sometimes outside of university with other friends. I hang out with other friends, but I wouldn't say Casey and I are close. However, recently, Casey has been talking to me a lot more and making efforts to spend time with me. At first, I thought Casey was interested in me and subtly reminded her that I have a girlfriend. But it turns out that Casey is a lesbian. Anyway, Casey has been talking to me a lot out of nowhere. She frequently vents to me about her problems, which I don't mind, but it's almost daily. Casey has also been asking me to do tasks for her, like calling customer service numbers for her because she's too shy to do it herself, accompanying her to doctor's appointments, or helping her move furniture in her apartment. I'm not very good at saying no, and I thought I was doing a good deed by helping her out, but she only talks to me when she needs something. And it's becoming draining. A few days ago, Casey called me to ask if I could accompany her to the orthodontist as she was getting her braces tightened. I told her I couldn't because I had a date with my girlfriend that day. Casey implied that I should cancel the date, but I firmly told her I wasn't going to. I hoped her appointment would go well. She started talking in a baby voice and begging me to go with her, going on about how she's scared of the dentist. I told her no again. She started yelling at me and saying I'm being a bad friend. I lost my patience and yelled back at her, telling her to grow up and stop acting like a child. Casey went silent for a few seconds, then hung up the phone. She has blocked me on everything and has been telling all our classmates that I'm a nice guy, not the idiot. You aren't her father, boyfriend, brother, or cousin. She needs to grow up and seek support elsewhere. She has been using you for a long time, and the first time you said no, she showed her true colors. Do you think Casey is or was a friend? She was using you. She dumped you as soon as she realized you weren't there to be used. In my opinion, you'll find that life without Casey is much better than life with Casey. I don't think she's using him. I think she has created a false version of their friendship in her head. One that is significantly more intimate than what OP is experiencing. Then she told everyone OP is a nice guy who is trying to force a friendship with her to try and have intimacy with her. It sounds like that's exactly what she's trying to do to him. And when he chose his girlfriend over her, she freaked out. She did you a favor by completely overreacting. Keep her blocked. It's not healthy for grown adults to act like they can't function without someone to coddle them. You're not her butler, concierge, personal assistant, or emotional support dog. Her overreaction is an attempt to manipulate you because this has worked for her before emotionally.